Okay, so we're here in my studio and I want to talk a little bit about the gear that I use, specifically because we're talking mixing and mastering, about the speakers and the monitors. And you can see in the background here, I have 3 sets of speakers, ranging from the slightly smaller Genelix. I use the 8040s, all the way to the big event opals over there, and then these little tiny JBL computer speakers. Now, let's start with the Genelix. I specifically like these. I've been using Genelix for a long time. And I used to have a pair of 8020s, which are not the smallest ones, but the next ones up. And I've used those for years and years and years. I don't know why, but I just really like Genelix. It's a very sweet sound. It's a very true sound. They're not too flattering, but they're not too flat either. So they're quite nice to work with on, for extended mix sessions. You can really sort of work into the early hours and not fatigue your ears with them. They're also very directional, which I quite like because then, you can really hone in on a sweet spot with the Genelix. That's a good thing and a bad thing sometimes, because if you do move away from that sweet spot, you can actually skew the stereo imagery of the speaker. So that's a good and a bad thing. Hence why I use another set of speakers on the end there, the Event Opal. You can see that they are actually a lot bigger. And also the reason why I use these is not only for the size, they are like 1,000-watt amplifiers in those things. So you get a real true club sound from them, but they're not quite as directional as the Genelix. There's something about the treble, the waveguide in the events, which makes them a little bit more, less directional. So, the sweet spot's not so specific on those. Now, you look at the JBL speakers there, they're just a really sort of cheap budget pair of, computer speakers. And the reason I use those is because I know a lot of people are actually working, when they listen to music, they listen to music on cheap computer speakers. So why not check out the sound on those speakers? I don't use them a lot because they're awful, but it's always good just to, as a reference point, just to make sure that the track, when you finish the mix, sounds okay on those speakers in comparison with other things. You can see as well with the Genelix, if you can see that they're placed on these little stands there, and they're called Prime Acoustic Recoil stands. And basically, this setup here isn't the best way to put your speakers by far. You're supposed to have a separate speaker stand that's decoupled from your workspace. Unfortunately, I can't do much about that because, I don't have a lot of room in here. And also it's nice to be able to put them there. So I use the recoil stands just to sort of decouple the speaker from the actual, from my workspace thing here. It stops the speaker from vibrating through the desk, so to speak, and then resonating with the desk, specifically the metal pieces at the bottom there. So that sort of decouples it. If we look at the opals, I use something called China cones, and again, it's just a way of decoupling the speaker from the actual stand itself. Stopping those resonances, stopping the metal of the speaker stand from vibrating, you picking up that sound. In terms of placement for the speakers, because I've already mentioned that the Genelix are quite directional, I've got a great app, and it comes on the iPhone, and it's actually made by Genelix, and it's called Speaker Placement. You can go and download it for free, I think. And all it does, it just sort of enables you to set the angle right, because you're not supposed to, loosely termed, you're not supposed to set the speakers any further than a 30-degree angle in towards you. Any further than that, that's deemed as wrong. So I've got this little, the iPhone app, which enables me to set up the speakers at the 30-degree angle pointing towards me. Also as well, because again, they're not at the perfect height, they should be really a little bit lower. The beautiful thing about the Genelix is that you can actually angle the speakers. So I've got them angled at around about 15 degrees, pointing directly at my ears. So the tweeters are hitting my ears. Again, The opals on the side there, I've got some, some speaker stands that I can raise and lower the height of. They're adjustable. So you can see that I've got them set so that the tweeter area there is in line with my ear. So they are, pointing directly at my ear at head level. So that's pretty much it for speakers, why I use them, and speaker placement. Join me in the next video.